and Jay, welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll begin with you, Jay, just because of proximity here. Usually I'm a ladies first kind of anchor, but anyway, the prosecution's still laying out their circumstantial case against Scott Peterson. How do you think they're doing so far?
I think they're doing very well. I think this is a very difficult case because there is no smoking gun. It's putting little pieces of the puzzle together and coming to the conclusion that there's no other explanation other than he murdered his wife and unborn son. I think it's a slow case. I mean, putting the mother on, for example, shows sympathy. It also shows that he's lied, although the defense has been explaining that lie. I think that the prosecution is trying to go slow in this portion of the humanize Lacey to make her almost come alive in the courtroom. And again, this is just a piece-by-piece case. That's what they're doing.
Been in 25 witnesses in 2 weeks. That's the right pacing, you think?
I think that is the right pace because they're trying to put everything together. The other thing that's good about this case is the jurors are making notes and the judge is allowing them to have a notebook with them. And I think, you know, the jury, from what I'm hearing, is paying a lot of attention. They're making notes as to what they're hearing. And at the end, they're going to have to put this whole case together and find out whether or not he's guilty or not guilty.
All right. Well, clearly taking their job seriously as jurors. Now, Katherine, some of the testimony this past week, it seems favorable to Scott Peterson's case. I mean, for example, his former neighbor testifying that she had been robbed around the time that Lacey disappeared. Did she help or hurt the prosecution, in your opinion?
Oh, I think she helped a lot. But this, you know, I kind of somewhat disagree with Jeff. I feel like that this kind of evidence that the prosecution is putting on now is what I call smoke and mirrors. It's what the prosecution does when they don't have any solid evidence.
What are you saying? It's because it's circumstantial?
All circumstantial. I have not been able to determine any tangible piece of evidence that the prosecution has to connect Scott Peterson with the murder of his wife. And I think all we're seeing right now is taking up time, trying to build a case on, you know, the number of witnesses that they've got, and the type of evidence that they're putting forth is just so circumstantial that it's not even, I don't even think it's worthwhile.
But Katherine, your observation of the jury, as Jay just said, they're taking notes, they're writing down all sorts of testimony that isn't circumstantial. Is that a problem?
Yes. They're also laughing at the humor in some of the cross-examination of some of the witnesses, some of the people that they've had this last week. I think that the makeup of the jury is important, very important. I'm a big proponent of making sure that you pick the right kind of jury. But I mean, if you look at the evidence that's going to be presented and has been presented by the prosecution, they have nothing. It is smoke and mirrors. That is all they've got.
That's not true. They have a lot in this case, and I think a lot. We're going to be seeing a lot more as time goes by. They have him having an affair. They have him. They have a.
Well, so what? But you're talking about.
You're absolutely right. That by itself, that's not. When you put the whole picture together, the going fishing on Christmas Eve with the pregnant wife at home, having an affair with your first child with the pregnant wife, the mop and the rags that the maid testified to, the lies that he told about whether he was going golfing, whether he was going fishing. I agree with your analysis that this is a difficult case and it's a circumstantial case, and there is no one thing. I hate to use the analogy smoking gun. There is no smoking gun in this case, but oftentimes in murder cases you don't have that. And I think the prosecution is faced with the dilemma where they believe he committed the murder. They think there's enough proof to go forward with the murder, and this is what they have, and they're presenting it, I think, in the best way that they can.
But you have to remember that the burden of proof in a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt. It isn't clear and convincing. It's not by preponderance of the evidence. It is beyond a reasonable doubt. And not only do they have to have evidence that rises to that level of proof, they've got to show intent, and they've got to bring to the jury the quality of evidence that rises to that level. And do you think the neighbor's testimony that they were burglarized, maybe that was helpful to the defense? But somebody saying, well, he said he was golfing, or somebody said he was fishing. Is that the kind of evidence that rises to the level beyond a reasonable doubt that allows a jury to find a person guilty of capital murder and then ultimately take this man's life?
And I want to ask you all to interpret sort of the emotional demeanor here, because both of you, I want to ask you about the relative Harvey Kemple. He said that he saw more reaction out of Scott reacting to having burned a chicken when he was cooking than when Lacey was missing. I mean, what kind of impact is that going to have in terms of testimony on the jury, Jay?
I think that's well, Scott Peterson has obviously previously on trial. All of those pieces of evidence indicate how much he cared about his wife, how he was reacting to his wife being missing with his pregnant wife being missing. I don't disagree this is a tough case for the prosecution. I agree with that. However, there's enough pieces there that when you put the whole puzzle together or the whole picture together, I think you end up with a guilty verdict in this case. But it is not an easy case.
And Katherine, your thoughts on this, on the emotional angle here? How much is that going to play into it?
Everybody is different. Everybody reacts to stress or trauma in a different way. Who's to say that Scott Peterson is a sort of a monotone kind of guy? I don't know that. But I know that the testimony that person said, you know, that he reacted more to a burnt chicken than he did to the missing aspect with his wife being missing. You know, is that beyond a reasonable doubt kind of evidence? And all they're doing is taking these little bitty tiny pieces of things and putting them together and trying to convince a jury that they have the quality of evidence to convict and kill this man. I don't think it's there.
Katherine, Scardino, Jay Fahey, I want to thank you both for joining us as we looked at these last couple of weeks and looking ahead to the Scott Peterson trial. Thanks so much. We'll speak with you both again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still ahead, a look at the role of